Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am very happy to see your faces. Merry Christmas. I can't believe we're in December already. So we're going to start by calling Ms. Sarita Augustine to say the prayer so that we can get down to the chow. And then we're going to introduce the speaker, okay? Thank you. I was waiting for you to come up.
No, that's fine. Okay. I was just going to stand there. Okay. Would you please bow your heads? Father, as we gather to hear the meeting information, we praise you for the nourishment that you will provide. Thank you for meeting our physical needs of hunger and thirst, and forgive us for taking that joy for granted. Bless this food to fuel our bodies forward into your will for our lives. We pray that we will be energized and be able to work for the glory of your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Okay, so I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Maria Juarez. I know most of you know me. And for those that don't, welcome. We're going to call Ms. Rayner for some items on the agenda. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Let's go eat. I was down to business, guys. Didn't I just say we were going to go and eat? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I know. Can we start over here, please? Go ahead. You can go ahead and just get in line. How is the food, everybody? Great. Wonderful. So I introduce you to Ms. Teresa Rayner, and she has some announcements.
Welcome again. I'm so glad you were able to join us. Everything is very festive, and hopefully the food is warm and delicious. We do have a guest speaker this morning. She is running behind. She's at another speaking engagement, but she should be here shortly. So in the meantime, I did want to remind you that this is being recorded. And so it just shows the back of your heads, but it's mostly on the stage. So it doesn't show you eating. We do have one of the public comments is patrons wishing to address the council may do so by registering by 8:30 the day of the meeting at my email, trainer1@galenaparkisd.com. And patrons who have duly registered may address the council and make public comments on an item before the consideration of the item. So just remember that for the next meeting that we have on February the 2nd. No new business right now, but we do want to just let you know that we do have many things going on. The students are testing right now. They're doing a lot of their benchmark testing. They are doing activities. Our North Shore football team is still traveling and still winning. So our next game will be at Rice Stadium. So I know the band and the football team and all that are involved are very excited about that. So continue to celebrate them. Well, yes, it should be. We'll check and see, and then I'm sure they'll post it. Dr. Moore will probably post it, or Mr. McKay will probably post it somewhere. But it should be televised, more than likely. Let's see. Any other news? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
One of our campuses here in the district received a wonderful award, and when I say it, they're gonna probably fight me to talk about it because it is so amazing. But it's called the Crest Award, and so I'd like for Dr. Augustine to stand up and talk about if she would share with the group what the Crest Award is. And our campus, North Shore Middle School, won the Crest Award, and one of our counselors is here today. And so I'd like for since it was their work that produced it, I'll let them shine, but I'd like for Dr. Augustine to talk about what that award actually means and what it represents.
Just excuse me if I have something in my teeth. No, just kidding. Yes, our counselors at North Shore Middle School, and we also have Dana Peters. She's over there in the corner. She's one of the counselors at North Shore Middle School. The CREST Award stands for Counselors Reinforcing Excellence for Students in Texas. And so that is like a national award that counselors can apply for, and it analyzes their comprehensive school counseling program and the things that they implement for students, and they have to highlight the services and things that they do for those students. And it's all across the state of Texas. And so you submit your application, you put all the information in and showcase your campus, and then they select the campuses based on what you turn in and if you're really implementing a strong comprehensive school counseling program. So this is a really big award. This is an award that all counselors try to apply for. So we're super excited that North Shore did apply for the award, and they are winners, and they will be recognized in February for their awesome work that they've done at North Shore Middle School. But just know that this is just the beginning. So that's our first school. We'll have plenty more after that. But I am super excited just, to lead a campus like that and to be a part of that. So when we go to the counseling conference in February, they will be recognized, and it's a real big gala, and they get a nice award. It'll be a big banner in the school. So it's a really big award. So we're excited. Big, big. Make sure you understand. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, this is our first, but it won't be our last. So yes.
That is awesome. Another round of applause for North Shore Middle. Congratulations. Congratulations. North Shore Middle School also was selected to do a tobacco survey that's run through Texas A&M University. And it will take place at the end of December. And what they do is they will survey out of all the 1,400 students, they chose 6 classes, and they will survey the students. It's not mandatory, but this is how they get information, and it will ask questions about if they've ever smoked, if they've ever tried to use a vape, if they use other drugs or different things than regular nicotine. And so that will just go to Texas A&M University, and they won't, they're not, they don't have to put their name or anything. So it is all confidential, and they'll get a study back from that. Let's see. What else? Okay, we can just go ahead. We can go ahead and do the minutes. Yeah. Okay. We'll go ahead and do the minutes if you have time to open up your folders. And we have the minutes. Let me go up here. Okay. Is that it? Okay. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Okay. So we will review these at the moment. If you see anything that is not correct, if you could let us know. That's Kathy Andrews. Jackson. Pardon me. Is there a second? Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. On the end of your table is the sign-in sheet. If you can make sure you've signed in, and then in the back and in the inside of your folder is also the evaluation to make sure you fill that out before you leave today.
So our next meeting will be Thursday, February 2nd, 11:30, and then the following will be Wednesday, April 5th of 2023. Wow, at 11:30. I can't believe it. And as usual, for our April meeting, we have pardon me? The baby shower, exactly. We have the baby shower, so keep that in mind. We will remind you, and we will welcome anything that you have. We'll probably, on the February 2nd meeting, we'll have probably some suggestions, because normally these items go to our daycares, right?
The daycares.
Yes. And so they'll probably give us some suggestions. But anything and everything is appreciated. Whenever I go to baby showers, I love to give wipes, unscented wipes, because you can use them forever. So anyway, just some ideas. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your food, and then we will wait for our speaker. And thank you so much for being patient.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My comment is that next week, the nutrition department is going to have their audit, their 3-year audit. So they'll be at 4 different schools. And so wish us well.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Amanda. Anyone else? Okay. If you enjoy the food so well, please help yourself for a second plate. I'm sure it's delicious.
All right. While she's getting her items together, let me introduce Lindy McGee, MD. And she's a general pediatrician who practices in Pasadena, Texas. And Dr. McGee completed her undergraduate education at Vanderbilt University and then earned her MD at Baylor College of Medicine, where she has also completed her training in general pediatrics. Dr. McGee is currently an assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine and spends her clinical time teaching residents at a Harris Health Clinic in an underserved area. She is also a member of the Academic General Pediatrics Division at Texas Children's Hospital, where her research focuses on cancer prevention in the adolescent population. Her interest in cancer prevention has led to projects on increasing HPV vaccination rates in teens and on e-cigarette education for healthcare providers and the public. Dr. McGee is also involved in advocacy at the state level on vaccine and e-cigarette legislation and serves as the e-cigarette chapter champion in Texas for the American Academy of Pediatrics. Please welcome Dr. McGee.
Thank you all so much. This is such an important topic for you to know about because it really is something affecting our kids. Next slide. Oh, can I move it? Awesome. So if you leave knowing one thing, this is what I want you to know. Who is going to replace the old smokers? And it's young people. 88% of adult smokers started before the age of 18. If you don't start using tobacco before the age of 25, you are extremely unlikely to start using tobacco. Guess who knows this? The tobacco industry. 100% know it. They also know that cigarette smoking rates went way, way down. So I see this slide as extremely, it's discouraging in one way because their trend is now reversing, but encouraging in another way in that we've done it before, we can do it again. It became extremely unpopular to smoke traditional cigarettes. As you can see, we started collecting data in teens in the 1990s. At that point, almost 40% of teens had used a cigarette in the last 30 days. By the time of the end of this slide, 5%. 2019, only 5% had used a traditional cigarette in the last 30 days. So we know how to make it decrease. But this also means the tobacco industry knows this too, and they need new tobacco nicotine addicts. So they decided a different tactic. They came up with vaping. Vaping actually came up as its own cottage industry out of Silicon Valley with the advent of Juul, which I have some samples y'all are welcome to take a look at up here if you want to see what these things look like, because they don't look like traditional cigarettes. It's one of the ways they became so popular. So here's a Juul. Looks like a USB drive. At first came in a lot of different flavors, then that started to be regulated, but so they came up with the first generation e-cigs were not very popular. They were out of China. They didn't have very good nicotine in them. Second generation, you'll see celebrities using these a lot, those vape pens. Those are becoming actually more popular again. Third generation one are these Mod Pod tanks like this. You see a lot of people in their 20s using these. You can control the amount of nicotine you're getting more in these, but they're more expensive. And they're bigger. Your parents can find them easier, so the teenagers don't use them as much. What the teenagers are using really are these fourth generation one. So this is a Juul. This is a Puff Bar, which looks exactly like a Juul. The difference between them is this is disposable, so you use it up and throw it away. Juul comes with little pods that you take out and replace the pod, so this is rechargeable and you can keep using it. The reason why Juul became less popular is because the FDA banned flavored pods a couple of years ago. So what happens? They banned flavored pods, so Puff Bar became popular. It comes in all the 200 different flavors. All e-cigarettes have common components, and that's what makes the different components is what makes different levels of dangerous. They all have batteries. They all have atomizers, which are the metal coils which heat up. They all have e-liquids. They all have cartridges that hold the e-liquid, and they produce an aerosol. One of the biggest marketing things that the vaping industry did was call it vaping. It sounds like water vapor, which is safe, like I put my vaporizer in with my sick kid. It is not a vapor. It is an aerosol. It's like inhaling air spray. It's not like inhaling steam. So these are some other examples of products. It is cheaper to vape than smoke in the state of Texas. We have an excise tax on regular cigarettes. We do not have one on vaping products. It is legislation. We're trying to propose this legislative session, so pay attention to that and let your state legislators know, hey, why aren't we taxing these things? We know that adding tax to them decreases youth use. Youth are very sensitive to price increases. So what happened? We saw that slide with the cigarette smoking going way, way down. What we know, vaping started to rise. So in 2018, we had 1 in 5 youth using vaping within the last 30 days. By 2019, it was 1 in 4 high school students was vaping in the last 30 days. If you remember, there was E-Valley then, where we had that e-cigarette and vaping-associated lung injury. People were going to hospital, were dying from e-cigarettes. It kind of like, it was super exciting and in the news all the time before COVID, and then COVID hit and you never heard about it anymore. It's not because it's not happening, it's just because COVID took over all the air in the room. But so teenagers did respond to that. We did see a decrease, so it went down to 20%. Middle schoolers also same, not as many, but same pattern where they're using a lot of it. In 2022, now we're at about 14% of high schoolers reporting current e-cigarette use, 3.3% of middle school students. One thing that we are seeing a concerning trend is the kids who are using it more often. So we're seeing more evidence of nicotine addiction. My favorite way, when I have a patient in the office who tells me that they're vaping, the best way to screen for nicotine addiction is, do you feel like you need to use it first thing in the morning? When you wake up in the morning, do you need to use it right away? If someone feels that urge to use it right away first thing in the morning, they're addicted. Like I said, if you look at the breakdown of device type, they switched to these disposables like the Puff Bars, and that's because of the ban on flavored pods. If you look at the brands, Puff Bar, Views, Juul, Smoke, Enjoy, Hide, and Smoke. I think the interesting thing to know here is, remember I was talking about the tobacco industry. So Juul started in Silicon Valley. It was not part of the tobacco industry. Altria bought a 35% stake of it. Altria is Philip Morris. And then if you start looking at the things that are becoming more popular, they're all owned by the big tobacco. So Views, Smoke, Enjoy, Smoke, all owned by big tobacco. So they're becoming, of course, they figured this out and they're becoming the popular brands. So why are youth doing it? Highly addictive nicotine, flavors, and advertising. So the big thing that Juul did, one, they made it look kind of cool, like a USB drive, like an Apple product. The other thing they did is made it a nicotine salt. Nicotine, I'm taking you back to chemistry here, but nicotine in itself is a base, and it irritates the throat. So prior e-cigarettes, they couldn't get much nicotine in because it started irritating your throat too much. Juul patented a special, they added an acid to it to make it acidic, and so it made it so they can put higher levels of nicotine in. Juul very much wanted to and accomplished 1 pod equals 1 pack of cigarettes worth of nicotine. So you get that same hit of nicotine that you do from a traditional cigarette. It goes through the brain just as fast as a traditional cigarette does, and you can get high concentrations in. So this is just a slide showing this. Juul Pod is about as much nicotine as a pack of cigarette. A Puff Bar has even more than that, and the Soren Pod, double. I thought it was really interesting. I was lucky enough to go to one of the World Series games. In front of us, there was a guy who was vaping the entire time, like every few minutes taking a puff off of his vape. Legit, he must have smoked a pack and a half of cigarettes during that game. So kids are going to party. The thing about a cigarette is, A, you're not allowed to smoke it in places like Minute Maid, which you're not allowed to vape either, but no one's turning them in. So A, you're not allowed to do it a lot of places, so you have to leave to go smoke. B, the cigarette burns down and you're done, right? Vapes don't burn down and you're done. You just constantly, if you watch people who vape, they're just constantly carrying that vape around and just taking puffs out of it. And all pods contain high levels of nicotine. What does it do to your body? We know it rewires and changes the brain. There is a reason why people who are over 18, especially over 25 who start, are less likely to get addicted because their brains are different. Their adolescents' brains are still developing. Their reward systems in their brains are very, very different than adult reward systems. This is why they make a lot of poor choices that teenagers make, right? Their reward system gives them bigger rewards for high-risk activity than adult reward systems do. It can permanently rewire that part of the brain, the nicotine. Also causes your heart to beat faster. It can cause, obviously, lung damage. You're breathing it into the lungs. And increase acid reflux. That's a minor problem compared to the rest, but all of this. I always tell my colleagues, when you see someone showing symptoms of anxiety, panic attacks, ask them about nicotine use. So if you see a kid who is before seemed pretty okay, but now you're showing increased anxiety, ask about nicotine use. Because if you think about it, these are all symptoms of anxiety as well. So we talked kind of about highly addictive nicotine being a reason kids are using. Flavors is another reason. Puff Bar, these are pictures of Puff Bar. I mean, that's just a few flavors. It comes in just like at least 50 different flavors. We know that 84.7% of youth e-cigarette users are using flavored products. This is the reason why I think legislation to ban the use of flavors in these products is really critical. If adults want to vape, they have a legal right to, but there's no reason they need to vape banana ice flavor. These are clearly targeted towards kids. And, you know, just another reminder, it's an aerosol, not a vapor. So
it's kind of like puffing, where you know they spray.
You're taking chemicals, you're aerosolizing chemicals, and you're breathing them in. So he's asking about huffing. It's like that. Yeah, it is an aerosol, not a vapor. That's why I say it's like hairspray. It's not like steam. These are all different chemicals that have been found in vape products. It is fewer chemicals than in burned tobacco. So people will sometimes say, oh, but it's safer than smoking. Since smoking is one of the most dangerous things you can do, that's a very low bar to say that something is safer. You are exposing yourself to all these chemicals. The ones that are in orange are known carcinogens. So what do these chemicals do? So we talked about what nicotine does. These chemicals also cause inflammation, irritation of the airways, and destruction of the air sacs in the lungs. There is data that shows that, once again, like kids, brains aren't fully developed, their lungs aren't fully developed either. So if you start exposing your lungs to something young, you are really having a lifetime impact. You also have a weaker immune response to infection. We also know it affects the cardiovascular system, so impairs blood and vessel function, increases the stiffness of your vessels, and increased risk for blood clotting. So we're talking about all the flavors, which seem so, they're just flavors. These are all flavors, which is safe to ingest in your stomach. It is not safe to inhale into your lungs and taking that direct hit to your heart. So we have the nicotine. We have the flavors. The third piece of this pie is advertising. There is very little regulation of advertising right now. If you know a teenager who is on Snapchat, ask them if they've seen vape ads, because I bet they have. E-cigarettes can actually be advertised on TV, radio, print, digital media, and social media. They can't make claims that they're safer than regular cigarettes or that they help users quit smoking, although many of them do make that claim. And then the FDA says, stop making that claim. And then they go on making that claim. They're supposed to not be able to imitate food or beverages, but I show you these. This picture was older. This picture was from last month. These are products that the FDA removed from the market last month. Try and tell me this is not, there's one that looks like a popsicle. Try and tell me that they are not trying to get kids. You know, I say that they're allowed to advertise on TV. I've never seen an advertisement for one on TV. Guess who's not watching TV? Kids. I have 2 kids. They never watch traditional TV unless it's a sports event on. So they pay social media advertisers. At the beginning, Juul had its own Instagram page. It became very, very popular. After that, Congress did get on them, put pressure on them. They took down their own page. But then what happened is we started seeing more and more user-generated content. So kids would post themselves with hashtag Juul. I want to tell you a little bit about what's emerging, what's coming up next, because they're always 3 steps ahead of us. I'd like them not to be. There's something called the IQOS. This is Philip Morris's new product, and they're called a heated, not burned tobacco product. So they heat the tobacco, they don't burn the tobacco, so it's fewer chemicals. Once again, slightly safer doesn't mean safe. This is just, it looks boring here because it's the white one, but it comes in all different fun colors and that kind of thing. These nicotine pouches are also very popular. At first, I was confused because how is that different than like nicotine replacement therapy, like a lozenge or gum that I would give to someone to get them off of nicotine? The difference is it uses that nicotine salt. It uses that acidic form of nicotine so you can get more in there and it hits the brain faster. So it's a good way to get kids addicted to nicotine. These come in all different flavors, although the FDA is starting to crack down on that. Wellness vapes. So these are vapes that have all the flavors in them, but that don't have the nicotine in them. The beauty of these is you don't have to be 21 to buy them. So here's one that is a B12 personal diffuser. They sell this as if it's something healthy to take. And I got this on Amazon. And I didn't have to say I was 21, because you don't have to be 21 to buy it, and it just shows up at my door, and I can use this. Has all the flavors, has all the dangers associated with the flavors. You do inhale it. If you read the very, very fine print right here, it says that you are supposed to actually inhale it into your mouth and let it dissolve on your tongue and not breathe it into your lungs. Do you think kids are doing that? No, they're not doing that. This could be a whole nother lecture in and of itself, but cannabis vapes are a really, really big problem right now. I would say I almost have as many patients vaping cannabis as I do vaping nicotine. The thing that parents don't realize that I really wish that parents realized is the THC content, the psychoactive content of these products is astronomical. It is not the same as smoking a joint in the 1960s and 1970s. So the DEA tracks the THC content. Once again, the part of marijuana that makes it marijuana, right? You have THC and CBD. We see CBD oil sold everywhere. They think the CBD may actually be a little bit protective of the brain from the THC. But what they do is they ramp up the THC, they decrease the CBD. In the 1960s through 1980s, it was about 7% THC. When Colorado legalized marijuana in 2017, they started to produce plants that had higher THC components in the vape, so they got up to 17%. The vapes have 90%, 80 to 90% THC. It's very, very different. So I have a lot of parents who I think kind of blow off a little bit of cannabis use, like I did it when I was young, not that big of a deal. It's a very, very different product, and we have some ideas of the psychological outcome of this, but we don't even know for sure. We do know studies out of Europe show that they actually compared Italy, where they have higher THC component, to the Netherlands, where they have lower THC component because it's regulated, because it's legal there. And they found more admissions for psychosis in young adults in Italy than in Amsterdam associated with THC. So when you're talking to teenagers, these are the messages I want you to use, because remember how I said we know what works? We've done it before. And they have done a lot of research in talking to teens and seeing what messages are working with them right now. This idea that nicotine is extremely addictive. No teen wants something else controlling them, right? So we'll have two messages that kind of speak to this. Nicotine is very addictive. Let them know that Juul patented this special form to make them addictive. Vaping is bad for lung health. Like, teenagers don't care about health down the line. They don't care it's going to cause cancer when you're 60 years old, or that it'll cause wrinkles. But some teenagers really care about lung health. So especially if I'm talking to someone who's in choir, who is a swimmer or track athlete or any athlete, emphasizing that lung health may resonate with them. This is the other. They're manipulating you. This is what worked for the tobacco industry. That's why I started with that message in this presentation. That's what I want you to come away with. This is big tobacco manipulating a generation and getting a generation addicted. No doubt. Be angry at them. Get your teenagers angry at big tobacco. Vaping makes anxiety and depression worse. We know that there's a mental health crisis in our teenagers right now. The vaping industry is trying to convince them that this makes it better. There's a lot of advertising in the vaping industry saying, oh, you feel anxious after a stressful day, vape. Relax and have a vape type of advertising. If you're addicted to nicotine and start to become anxious because you're addicted, then it will make you feel better to have it. Ultimately, though, now you have a new mental health problem of addiction, and it makes anxiety and depression worse. It's also horrible for the environment. I told you that they're switching to all of these disposable vapes. These all have batteries in them, and they're meant to be just thrown away. So we're getting some countries where what we call e-waste is really building up. So you have a teenager who cares about that. Some teenagers are passionate about the environment right now. Give them that message. I'll leave this up if y'all want to take a screenshot. There are a lot of places to refer teenagers for help. There's a lot of people doing great work and good information out there. I think that Live Vape Free and the Ditch Vape, the Truth Initiatives, those last two, the tech space, have been shown to be really successful. I do think phone-based aren't very successful in teens. I have 2 teenagers at home. They'd rather die than answer the phone. So they'll text you, though. Huh? I have 2 teenagers, yes. Oh, they would rather die than answer the phone. And I just wanted to thank everyone who's kind of helped me out. Oh, do you want me to put that back on? Yeah.
You know, now a lot of young adults go to these clubs and parties, and they're doing the hookah.
Yep, same thing, same risks.
It's the same, okay. I was wondering what the correlation is.
They contain nicotine, they contain the flavors. Some of them are set up so it's not as high levels of nicotine. So you don't see people addicted to hookahs, because also they're hard to carry around. But the question is, if you're getting someone on nicotine, are they going to start then using other products? There have also been a lot of studies. Once again, the tobacco industry knows this. If they start using hookahs, vapes, they go on to using traditional cigarettes. So I think it is that nicotine. You're breathing in chemicals. I don't think that's a good idea. And B, you're getting that hit of nicotine that we know is highly addictive. Nicotine is one of the most highly addictive substances that we have. It's equivalent of like heroin in the amount of addictiveness it is. If you go to rehab centers, you will see a lot of people who can get off everything else but still smoke. It is highly, highly addictive.
So I saw the price of
Uh-huh.
the latest slide that you put. It was for something.
Uh-huh.
What are the average prices for the ones that you're showing here? Like,
Sure. I have them all written on it. She's asking me about the price. So this Puff Bar I bought for $6. And if you remember, it had over a pack worth of nicotine in it. So it was about a pack and a quarter worth. The Juul, I bought a 4-pack for $17.99. So once again, cheaper than remember a pack of cigarettes was about $6.50. This one, this is an Air Bar. So Puff Bar is actually becoming, the FDA is cracking down on Puff Bar, so it's becoming less popular. But once again, something new just comes up. So Air Bar. I bought this online. They delivered it to my house when my teenage daughter was home. I was not home. They did not ask her for her age or ID or anything. She picked it up. She loves it when I put her up to these things. So this Air Bar I bought online for $6.99. It comes in 6 different flavors. This is mango strawberry. You can smell it. So you're all welcome to come up here and look at my supply if you want. See what they look like. Just don't take them home.
$13.99.
Yeah, that B12 one was $13.99. Those wellness vapes they sell at Urban Outfitters. You can pick them up there.
So they're extremely affordable.
Yeah. It's cheaper than smoking. It's a cheaper way to get nicotine than smoking.
Wow. Any more questions, guys?
Yeah, you can send it. You're welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oftentimes shocking to us as adults how much we don't know
Yeah.
about things that are so easily accessible to our children. So just please know that some of our counselors may be calling you to come and to their campuses.
Yeah, sure. As much as
If we don't know, I'm pretty sure they don't know either.
yeah. And I think another aspect of this as educators, because this is coming up in the legislative session, is these kids are addicted to it. Catching a kid vaping should not be punitive. It should be rehabilitative. We also know that once you start punishing addiction, A, it doesn't work, and B, it is not done normally equitably. Just as much as I do want to decrease vaping, I think it is important as educators to think about how we're going to do that in a way that respects the fact that these kids are addicted to these products and they were manipulated by a very well-funded industry into that.
It's interesting. So what do you do to rehabilitate?
What I recommend is actually Stanford develop a program for this. So Stanford has a Center for Center for Tobacco Prevention. A lot of my slides are from them, so you'll see it on my slide. And they developed a curriculum that specifically designed for if you catch someone in school vaping to make them go through this curriculum. So I like that as a better option. Uh-huh. And they also have great programs, and they just relaunched a program for middle school and high school, I think, and they're about to launch an elementary school program. So they're a good resource. Yeah.
So is vaping just as dangerous or, I guess, addictive as like marijuana or something like that?
So she asked if vaping is as addictive as marijuana. Nicotine is more addictive than marijuana, definitely. So the actual chemical nicotine is more addictive than THC. Yeah. It's hard for me to say, dangerous. They're all dangerous. They're all, yeah.
Yeah, and then apparently these marijuana stuff, it can have chemicals added
Yeah,
to it.
well, and then we have the issue of doctored things with fentanyl and all of that, right? So that's a completely different talk and scary in and of itself. So it's just, I think it's, if you have kids at home, it's just having lots of conversations with them. As with any topic with kids and teenagers, it's not one conversation, it's constant conversations. It's when you're seeing the advertisement saying, look how the industry is trying to manipulate us. Teaching them how to avoid advertising, teaching them how to get out of peer pressure, which is, my mom's going to kill me if I got mom doing this, that kind of thing. So,
Shops, also around our neighborhoods, have you seen them?
there are vape shops everywhere now. Yeah.
They're very, with neon lights and
Yeah.
big signs, vape, blah, 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 and so they attract you, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
again, they're pretty.
I went into one in September because I was giving a lecture and I wanted to see what was out there. And when I walked in the door, there was a whole wall of different color. They weren't puff bars, but they were like these, all different flavors. And there was a dad with his daughter who looked about 5, who they were crouching down going, should I get the raspberry ice or should I get the mango strawberry? He was going over all the flavors, and like her fun was to pick out the flavor that dad was going to get.
Wow.
Yeah. I know, the pediatrician in me.
So he's normalizing going
Yeah.
to these places.
And that it's fun, and we're picking out these flavors. So remember, this is something I remind my pediatricians too, because, y'all are taking care of older kids, but I'm taking care of babies. The people who got addicted in their teens and early 20s in 2016 through 2018 are young parents now. They have newborns at home. There is a risk with second and third hand vape. And toddlers who live in parents' houses, people who vape, do have nicotine derivatives in their urine.
And because of mom and dad and whatever using it, it's normal. So you see it growing up,
Yeah.
plus you
Yeah.
get the second and third hand.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, so you noticed that we have some goodies. Woohoo! And so everybody got a little ticket. So here goes the first one. Make sure you look at your numbers. There we go.
373, the last 3 numbers.
All right, come on up. Merry Christmas to you. You can do it.
Okay. 377.
Woodland Acres.
372.
All right, Dad. Guys, help me thank Melissa and all the ladies back here for the great lunch and the decorations. On behalf of Dr. Epps, Teresa, and myself, Merry Christmas, and we end our meeting for this month. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, be safe, and take all this information with you because it's golden, you know? It makes us more informed. And yes, and we'll see you in February. I can't believe it. 2023, here we go. Okay. Perfect. So the evaluation that we asked you to take home with you and fill it out, they're asking me if you want a copy of this presentation. There's going to be a memo part on the bottom. Please fill out your email address, and then it will notify Melissa, and Melissa will email it to you. Okay? This is a great presentation.
You click your phone on here if you're not familiar, and then that will open up the evaluation.
Yes. This is great information. So thank you so much, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for our presenter once again. Dr. McGee. And if you would like to check out these vapes, they're on the table before she picks them up and takes it to the next presentation. Great. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.